your comment today. I think you were a new face. So, guys, a couple of things before we get going. Scotty T was going to jump on this live for 10 minutes tonight, but he's not now. He's going to be with us tomorrow instead, because apparently he was having Sunday lunch with his mum. I'm not sure why that stops him having a chat on the live with us, but he's obviously a good boy who does exactly what Mommy says, despite his despite his bad boy image. What else? But tomorrow on the podcast is the most swiped, not the podcast, on the live, is going to be the guy who is the most swiped right man on Tinder. I'll tell you his name in a minute. Do any of you know who I'm talking about? This guy is actually, I don't know how they worked it out. I guess Tinder obviously must have done the calculations and let him know. But this guy is the person who was the most swiped right man on on Tinder, and he's going to be joining us on the live because he's also now got a digital marketing agency and he does a lot of influencer marketing. So we're going to talk about, you guys can ask him some questions. We're going to talk about influencer marketing, how to find influencers to work with you, how to, how to get the best out of your influencer marketing, and also talk about things like profile pictures and putting your best foot forward. Because obviously I know it's almost like a jokey way to talk about the conversation, but there is a skill to Tinder in the same way there is a skill to Instagram or to Facebook or to whatever, and it is your job to obviously use your best image, give the best description of yourself, and to sell yourself on Tinder in the same way that you're going to sell yourself on Instagram, etc. So we are going to have him on there tomorrow. So I'll post a picture of him after this live. Don't be getting too excited, but you'll find out who he is. Johnny Sillers says you thought it was you. I thought it was me, Johnny, as well. I think maybe I'm the second most and you're the third most. Who else have we got in the gang tonight? Tasha says, Matt, could I do a podcast? And if I could do a podcast and interview anyone in the world, who would it be and why? You put me on the spot now, Tasha. I don't know if I can answer you that question right now, but I will definitely have a think about it. I mean, it's interesting you asked that question because obviously, one of my jobs and my team's job is to get guests to come on my podcast. And while we're now on lockdown, I'm doing a lot more podcasts and a lot more live streams with a lot more people. Obviously, because we're doing them online, it gives me the chance to go out to a wider audience than I've ever been out to before. So I've been trying to get get a lot of guests on who I would probably never have tried to get them before, because the people who are probably too big or too busy to want to come on my podcast, because ultimately it's the same issue that we've all got. When you're first starting, you struggle to get anybody on, and when you're established, you still struggle to get a lot of people on, because obviously everyone's only got so much time and they're only prepared to go on podcasts or interview shows or whatever you like that is going to be beneficial to them in some way, shape or form, unless they were perhaps getting paid. Obviously, I'd be lying if I said I've never paid a guest to do something to come on, but I try not to make a habit of it. So it's I guess my job is to kind of continue to grow my podcast, to therefore grow my audience and have something to offer the people that have something to offer the people that come on with me. But so we have put this out to a lot of people that we probably would not normally have tried to go to names that big, and obviously a lot of them have come back and say no. Hey Viv. A lot of them have come back and said no, but we've got a few people coming on over the next few weeks. I'm trying to think of the biggest name we've got booked in next week is Kelly Hoppen. I don't know if any of you guys know Kelly Hoppen. She was a dragon on Dragon's Den, and she is, I think she's got a interior design business or something like that. But yeah, so Kelly will be on over the next few days, few weeks. But if you guys have got people that you think would be good guests for me to have on, then please mention them. DM me about it, write it in the comment box, and I will do my best to reach out to them. Lydia says, what guests do I have on my lives? I have a whole mix of guests. You know, I try and get a combination of people who are both interesting and well known, and it isn't always the case that those two characteristics cross. So again, guys who followed my stuff for a while will know that I've done a lot of interviews and a lot of podcasts with various celebrities, and you know that's normally done because I want to put myself in front of their audience. So if I get whoever, if James Locke comes on my podcast, for example, obviously I'm doing that because I want to get myself out in front of his audience and therefore grow my audience, grow my exposure. And it's hard to strike a balance because sometimes some of the people who are best for exposure don't necessarily give me the best business related content. And some of the people who I can have fantastic conversations with and who are really beneficial for you guys to learn from aren't necessarily the people who are going to help drive me a new audience because they aren't particularly well known. I mean, if we take those two things to their extreme, I don't know if, again, any of you guys who followed me for a while will probably know that I had Katie Price she came on the YouTube show and on the podcast with me last October. And that was quite a pivotal moment for me in the podcast. Really, it was the biggest profile guest that I've ever had on. And at the time, we did talk a little bit about bankruptcy. Just at the time when it was becoming very well known in the press that she was going to be made bankrupt, and that absolutely shot me through the roof from a YouTube perspective. I mean, I think as of today, the Katie Price interview and the micro interview we turned it into and the podcast combined, we've had something like 500,000 views and downloads, which is fucking enormous. And what that's done is bring a whole new, I mean, that's given me, I think that tripled or quadrupled the number of subscribers I've got on the podcast. I'm on the YouTube channel, so it was fantastic from that perspective. But obviously, again, a lot of the people it brought weren't necessarily people who would be directly my audience. But what it's also done is rebase my YouTube channel, and this isn't something we got into talking about with Alan the other night, but effectively, I guess in the same way that your Instagram channel only gets shown to so many people in your audience, it's the same kind of algorithms work with YouTube. But because that gave me a big hit of new people and new views with Katie, what it's then done is every time I now put a new video up, they get a lot more views initially than they used to do. So you know, prior to Katie, let's say I might put a video on YouTube. It might have been an interesting video, but no celebrity in it and just me. And on its first day, it might have had 10 watches, 10 views, for example. That same video now will get maybe 100 on the first day, maybe more. I had another quite popular interview with Bethany Kershaw. And again, you know, the actual content of these might not be super relevant to my business audience. I mean, I always try and extract some kind of business related conversation from it, you know, even if that's talking about influencer marketing or, you know, how they've monetized their brand. So that's the kind of at the one end of the extreme. And then at the other end of the extreme, I've got a guy called Nick James, a friend of mine, a guy that I'm in his mastermind. With the guy's got phenomenal content, very beneficial to my audience in terms of what he can teach about marketing, sales, branding. But he's not a well-known person outside of the industry. So, you know, my problem is striking that balance because I need the Katie Prices of this world to drive me traffic, and then I need the Nick Jameses of the world to give me really interesting content. So I hope that makes sense to you guys, and you can use the same kind of what's the word? Strategy yourself. But again, it's just being careful to stay on brand. So, you know, wherever I've used the celebrities, I have still tried to make the conversation as business or marketing or media related as possible. You know, there'd be no point me just having a comedy video which might drive me a load of traffic, but then it's just not right for my brand and not right for my channel. So, what is everybody saying? Jade Renner, welcome. Good evening. I'll give you a little wave. I know you're a first-time watcher. What's anybody else saying? Lydia Pito says, "I guess people don't care to watch if they are not well known." I wouldn't say that's true. What I would say is people who don't know me and don't know what my channel's about probably will probably not care to watch or not care to come and visit me, because how would they know me? How would they know what I'm about? But when they do know me, then like you guys come back night after night now, some of you guys, and I'm not famous, I'm not well known, but now you know who I am. I've obviously got something to offer that you want to listen to. So it's about leveraging other people's brand. It's just another version of influencer marketing, effectively. What's anybody else saying? Taylor, I can't say Taylor Elise says, "Glad I came across your page. So interesting. Thank you very much." Clayton says, "Have you ever thought of getting famous sports people for podcasts and lives?" Yeah. Have I ever had anybody on there? You know what? I've done some podcasts with some famous ex-tennis players. Again, obviously, anyone who knows me knows I do my annual tennis events where we have some of the legends of tennis. So I've done podcasts with the likes of Richard Krajicek, Wayne Ferreira, Barbara Shett. Barbara Shett, she's an ex-female professional tennis player, top 10 player, and she presents on Eurosport now. So I've done some interesting conversations with them, and we talk about the parallels between business and sport, about coaching, training, psychology, mental strength, all that kind of stuff. So that's pretty interesting. I'm actually doing this Wednesday. I'm doing my first social networking event for the people who normally come to my tennis event and normally come to my members club, Clique. I think I've been talking to you guys about the fact that we do a lot of the meetings on Zoom over the last few weeks. So we've still been able to deliver content, but they've all been business-related meetings, and we haven't actually done any social gatherings. But this Wednesday coming, we're doing a social gathering on Zoom, where everyone's got to bring the gin and tonic and bring the wine. And Richard Krajicek actually is joining that Zoom meeting to talk a bit of tennis and fun and have a drink and a chat with everybody. But yeah, my team who helped me get my guests together, we have got a lot of messages out with a lot of sports people and their agents at the moment, so hopefully you'll see some coming up on my lives over the next few weeks. Tasha says, "All the new people," this is a message to all you guys, "all the new people, you've made the best decision of your careers, so be prepared for your business to grow watching Matt's lives and following his page." Tasha, thank you very much. I'm very flattered by your comments. My Way Home says, "Yeah, the Insta algorithm is killing my business sometimes. I try to ask for comments and shares to try and boost it." Yeah, that's something we talked about yesterday or the day before, that one of the best ways, or one of the easiest ways to get engagement is to ask for it. Also, something that we'll get Stefan to talk about tomorrow night is engagement groups, and you should have other people that you kind of work with, collaborate with, to share each other's stuff. To share each other's posts, to comment in each other's posts, likes, shout each other out, etc. But I think one thing that's very important to understand is, I'll say Instagram, but this is going to be the same for everything. The algorithm is only going to make your job get tougher and tougher. So however hard you think Instagram is today compared to last week or last month or last year, I promise you next week and next month is going to be even harder. And the week after and the month after is going to be even harder still. Because, in very simple terms, all these platforms work on supply and demand. How many people are supplying content and how many people are consuming content? And this is why, obviously, a lot of the big advisors talk about the power of TikTok at the moment and how people should be on TikTok. And they're not saying, you should be on TikTok because it's of the particular way you deliver content. The reason TikTok is popular for influencers at the moment is because there is a lot less people putting content out on TikTok than there is watching content. Therefore, I guess the equivalent of this is, anyone who's as old as me can remember the days that we only had 5 TV channels. I remember only having 4 TV channels. I'm also embarrassed enough to say I remember Betamax Video as well. But when there was 4 TV channels, there was so many more eyeballs on those TV channels. So obviously, there's more people watching, there's less content, and the advertising revenues are much, much higher. Then Sky comes in, and then Virgin comes in, and cable comes in, and now there's so many more channels with so much more content. And the price of advertising on all this stuff goes down because more people are watching. To get people to watch your shows is harder because there's so much more content. And it's exactly the same theory. It's just simple supply and demand economics on Instagram. And it's the same on Facebook, and it will be the same on TikTok next year or the year after or the year after that. So, why am I saying this? I forget. My Wee Home saying that the algorithm's killing you. So my two comments are really that you've got to use whatever. I don't want to use the word tricks, but hacks. But let's see, whatever strategies you can use to get the absolute best out of Instagram for you. But you also need to know that it's only going to get worse. So what you need to also be getting yourself set up on other platforms, helping move your customers from Instagram to Facebook, to Snapchat, to the other platforms, so that when one platform's popping and the other one's not performing, you're okay, and vice versa. You also want to try and certainly move them to the likes of YouTube. We've talked about YouTube a lot in these lives because YouTube is different to other social media platforms, whereas the likes of Instagram, your content lasts for an hour or a week or a day or a week. Content on YouTube just gets better and better and better over time. I'm sure you guys have all watched a YouTube video that might be 10 years old or 8 years old or whatever. I certainly have, but that's happened because it's a search engine as opposed to a social media platform. And what you really, really need to be doing is getting email addresses for your customers. Getting them off these platforms and getting them onto an email address, because again, we've talked about this a bit over the last few days. You've got to appreciate and understand that you don't own your data on Instagram. Instagram own your data. And this is why one of my pet hates that drives me mad for lost opportunity for these guys is the influencers who are only concentrating on one platform. Somebody who's got 1 million fans, so 1 million followers on Instagram, but doesn't move them onto any other platforms, because they don't own those 1 million people. Instagram own them, and it could go off at any point, and then their business is fucked. And their business is being on Instagram. So that is that. What else is anyone saying? What about getting people that are so inspiring and have an incredible story but not a celebrity? Doesn't sound like your niche, though. Yeah, no. I mean, my niche really isn't the celebrity. I've used the celebrity to be that influencer marketing, to be that push to help grow my audience. But no, listen, one of the guys that a lot of you people who are regular to me know is JP de Villiers, a good friend of mine, super inspirational coach. Super inspirational stories. We've done a couple of lives together over the last couple of weeks. That guy is one of my absolute idols. But he's not a celebrity in the sense of the word celebrity. So it's not about just having big names at all. Okay. So My Way Home says most of the people Matt has on aren't celebs. Just a few. Evening, Dylan Brown. Scott says I don't know you or what you do, but you're watching to find out. Thank you very much. I hope you like what you're watching. Lydia says the same. My Way Home says Matt's helped lots of businesses. Thank you very much, guys. Thank you very much. Certainly getting a loyal group here. Lee Isaac says you've helped loads in her business. What sort of business tips and advice do you give out? So Lewis, we talk about all kinds of things. A lot of what I like to talk about is what is the problems that you guys are suffering at the time. We talk a lot about marketing, about branding, about growing your business, about dealing with problematic situations, overcoming adversity. But really, I'll talk about whatever you guys want. Like I said, Lewis, I know you and I have started to connect offline a little bit over the last week or two. But my story is growing businesses and then having failures in business and restarting, etc. again. So I like to think I've been through most situations that others won't have done, because a lot of these situations you only go through once and you don't even want to have gone through that once. So if you guys can learn from my experience and not have to do it yourself, then that is definitely the best way to do it. Taylor Elise says you're working on starting your own business at 18. That's great. It's never too young to start. The earlier you start, the more mistakes you can make younger, so that's fantastic. From seeing people's comments, you've helped a few, so I'll be here when you're on live to get some tips. We're live every night at 9 o'clock. Clayton says, keen to follow your podcast and get some good insights into business mentality and mental strength. Clayton, you can get my podcasts on both YouTube and then iTunes or Spotify or whatever methods you use to download your stuff. It's called The Matt Haycox Show, so just bang The Matt Haycox Show into thingy. Rachel Lugo, look at that. I'll give you a little wave. Hey Rachel, are you still there? I didn't see you there because I've been looking at all the comments. Your TikTok's doing good now in 3 days. Hey Tash, JP is my coach. Oh really? Fantastic. Have you found out about me then because of coming across from JP? What else? Matt, do you have a book out I could purchase that gives all of this advice? I have the only book I talked about a book last night. So the only book I've got so far is a book called which is The Funding Guru's Guide to Crowdfunding. It's something I specifically wrote about crowdfunding and how to raise money for your business through crowdfunding. But I'm definitely going to do some more books. I'm definitely going to turn a lot of my audio and video content into the written word. And one of the things I've been working on over the last 2 or 3 days is some more online courses. So I'm wanting to I want to try and get 4 or 5 different online courses out over the next 30 days, which will be everything from marketing to starting home-based businesses to photo and video editing for your social media. Some of the courses will be stuff that I deliver completely myself. Other ones will be ones where I partner up with some of the experts that I work with myself. So I'm sure some of you guys will like that. Louise Fisher, give you a little wave. Welcome to the party. Lydia says, my goal is to be an international speaker and inspire people all over the world. Any tips? Yeah, my tips would be to I guess, start locally. Start locally and start small. I've actually only just started adding speaking into my repertoire over the last month or two. I was actually supposed to have quite a lot of speaking engagements booked in from April onwards, really, but they've obviously all been cancelled from a corona perspective. And yes, listen, I'd love to be on the stage of the NEC talking in a 20,000 person business conference, but I've got to be realistic. So my speeches that I've had booked in are for schools and small business networking type clubs. So typically speaking to anywhere between 50 and 250 people. I was also supposed to speak at the Festival of Enterprise, which is obviously a much bigger event, but that's been moved to an online thing. So I think I'm doing my online speech on the 23rd. I think it is 23rd of April. But yeah, I mean, listen, if you want to be a big international speaker inspiring people, then it's the same rules and logic that apply to anything in terms of building up your business and building up your brand. I guess McDonald's wanted to be a massive international business selling burgers to people all over the world, but you've got to start somewhere. So what's your niche? Who have you inspired? How are you inspiring them? And how are you going to get yourself known and build your brand? Because you can only speak on a stage for 10,000 people when 10,000 people want to listen to you, and 10,000 people only want to listen to you if 100,000 people know who you are. So everything. I guess this goes back to one of the things that Lewis said. What do we talk about on here? One of the big things I always talk about is brand building. Getting attention, growing your audience, because when you have a brand, when you have an audience, you can do anything you want. And by do anything, I mean sell anything. So whether that's selling a product, selling your services as a speaker, gaining investment, whatever it may be. Viv says you've been helpful in keeping me motivated through lockdown. Thank you very much. I've really genuinely, honestly, love getting messages from you guys every day telling me that you've started a new idea or that you've done something new in your business or whatever. So I never, I don't mean this is new to me now, but when I started doing all this social media related stuff a couple of years ago, I guess I'd done it for my own brand building at the time and never particularly imagined or envisaged that I would be giving advice to people or having followers in that way. I guess I was just starting to tell my story to grow my audience. But as it's kind of naturally developed into giving advice, help, mentorship, support, etc., it is really, really satisfying to see you guys do well. And thank you, Viv, for mentioning the podcast. Clayton says, how would you go about growing a business during a period like this lockdown? And then I see that My Way Home says, during lockdown is the best time to promote your business online. Fantastic. You're taking the words out of my mouth, and you are obviously repeating what I've been talking about time and time again, that lockdown is the time that all these eyeballs are on you. Or not on you, so all these eyeballs are on Instagram, or on Facebook, or on the internet, or on social media. You've got a whole world of consumers, of people looking to watch something, of looking to get information, or get entertainment, or get whatever it is they're looking to get. And it is your job to not be a consumer, but to be a producer. So Clayton, I don't know what your business is, but you need to be spending this time growing your audience, growing your following. If there's ways to take your offline business online, then you also want to be doing that so you can still continue to make sales now. But if that's impossible or tougher, then at least be working on your marketing. I'd also be very conscious of using the word impossible, because one of the things we've talked about in a lot of these podcasts, in a lot of these lives, is all the different ways to think outside of the box and start offering your product online, even if it's in a diluted manner, or start bringing new products into your product mix to be able to still service people during lockdown. Because just because we're in lockdown, just because there is obviously a lot of financial problems for many people, doesn't mean people aren't spending. You might not be able to spend, and a lot of people might not be able to spend, but there is still plenty of people out there with money, and there's still plenty of people out there, with an interest in many, many things. And obviously, like I said, I don't know what it is you do. This might have come up in the box if I scroll further down. But people are still sat at home now, wanting to consume. People are buying online courses. People are doing Skype and Zoom related businesses. People are still spending. So can you grow your audience, and can you make a product that is sellable during lockdown? And My Way Home has basically echoed my words. Chantel says, I'm seeing your comments. I think I am. Bethany Rose, we get the thumbs up from you. Lacey Price, Tasha, Tasha says, when did you first notice your business was taking off? I guess that depends what business you mean. But look, we all have our own measures of success, and we all know. I guess we can all judge ourselves. When things are taking off. One of the things we've talked about on previous podcasts is that everyone's view of success is different, and people often say, well, when did you first feel successful, or how can you measure success? And for me, measuring success is whether or not you hit the targets that you've set for yourself. So if you set out there to be to start a business that turns over £100,000 and you've turned over £1 million, then you're super successful. Whereas if you've set out to do a business that turns over £1 million and you've done £500,000, well, by your standards, you aren't successful. So I think it's about setting targets and measuring success by your level, not by what other people say. And again, listen, I'm not the expert qualified to talk on this. JP, who's obviously had his name mentioned a few times in this, JP is a lot more eloquent in this topic than me. But he was talking the other day really about that if you can't find happiness and contentment prior to trying to make money, then you'll never find it anyway. Like I said, I'm saying this completely wrong. I'm completely butchering his speech, but. He basically talks about how you have to be happy in yourself and your wants and desires away from money, because if the only things that you seek are the material things, when you hit that level, you still really won't be satisfied, and you'll just want more. And and as someone who's I guess achieved many of the toys of success over the years. I do very much get what he's talking about. There's times that I've wanted to buy this particular car or do this particular thing, and the day after the day I've got it and I've driven it, it's been parked up in the drive and never really been used, because I guess they weren't really the things you were striving for. But in terms of your success, you've got to set your own targets, and they, like I say, they may not necessarily be financial, and you can still fail or succeed in the same way. If you're setting out a target to be, I don't know, if your target is to have a business that turns over £100,000 and to be a phenomenal husband to your wife and a great dad to your kids, and you have a business that turns over £10 million, but you treat your wife like shit and your kids have never seen you, then you're a failure by your own standard setting, aren't you? So yeah, that is that. So listen, we've managed to talk about lots of different things now, but I wanted to talk about particularly today's question, because I put out a question today, which was the question to win tonight's £100. And again, for anyone who's new to the party, we do a £100 cash giveaway every night during lockdown on this live. I put a post up each day, normally ask a question to drive some interaction from you guys, and then a winner is picked at random every night to get the £100. I think it's very important that that it's random to give. Oh, Harley Haycox, my goodness, where have you been for the last 3 weeks? You can have a little wave. Harley, for anyone who doesn't know me before, is my daughter, who doesn't give me anywhere near enough Instagram attention. You can send me a nice comment tonight. There you go, wave. That's a wave to you. She has been waiting for lockdown to finish so that we can watch Tiger King together. But so every day I ask a question. I get you guys to get involved with some interaction. You have to be commenting on the question to be able to win in the competition. But all the winners are always picked at random. Because I think that's only fair, to keep it mixed up between you guys, and give everybody a chance to win. Because I think we've got people on here who are very experienced in business, and we've got people on here who are newbies to business. And I think if I was asking a question where it's a right or wrong answer, it wouldn't be fair to everyone else. So I want to keep as much engagement and interaction with you guys as possible. But today's question was, what three traits do you think are the most important for success? And this came out because it was a conversation that JP and I were having a couple of months ago when he'd come to stay with me, and we kind of took it in turns to interview each other for our respective channels. And I gave the 3 things that I thought were key to my success, but I think they are applicable to anybody to make you successful, and I think we can change the word successful as well, in that I think it can make you recession proof. I think it can make you survive in a situation like lockdown, or the corona isolation. I think it can make you survive and thrive in a booming economy. And I think in a depressed economy, it will ensure that you are able to put food on the table and hopefully thrive during that as well. So I will come to my 3 things at the end, but I just want to talk about a few qualities that some of you guys have mentioned. So Taylor Elise, our newbie, who we've seen in there, Taylor says it's an important quality to be motivated to push yourself to where you want to be. You need skill and you need to have passion for your success. 100%. I guess to me it kind of goes without saying that you've got to have motivation. But and other people have used words like discipline, and drive and desire. Whatever words you want to use to it, you're going to need that, because no matter what your goal is, no matter whether you're looking to make a business that provides you a nice side income, a business that replaces your existing current income, or whether you want to take over the world with multi-million pound ideas, you're going to have plenty of dark days. You're going to have a much longer journey than you expected. One of the other words that somebody said is an important trait is patience and perseverance. I think that I never had any patience when I was a kid, and I guess I was 18, 19, 20, wanting to make loads of money, which therefore made me take probably loads of unnecessary risks. And I think because of that, it probably made my journey rockier than it needed to be at certain times. Whereas I guess I'm 39 now. I look at myself as 39, and maybe I'm deluded by saying it, but I still feel young. And I guess if I hadn't have maybe taken some of the wild risks when I was, 21, 22, 23, because I felt I needed to make the money then, and I was prepared to knock it back a few years, I'd have still been very young, and I may have been in a better position. So I think patience, perseverance, discipline. Clayton Sakers mentioned discipline. Discipline is super important. Very, again, when we're giving these analogies between sports and business, discipline is obviously a fantastic thing. I've got no discipline to keep me away from the fridge, hence why I have a fat tummy and I will never have a six-pack. But it applies just the same. It applies just the same in business. Who else is anyone saying? Clayton. Who else is it? My wee home says being seen, being online, and interacting with potential customers and existing customers. Yeah, 100%. Again, we're always talking every night about the importance of being seen, of having an audience, of getting attention. Getting attention to get that audience, and then building a relationship with that audience. So if you have an audience, you will always be able to, sell them something, interact with them. Obviously, the bigger the audience, the more potential you've got. Ashley Mullins says, according to me, 3 attributes that need to ensure success are aspiration, willingness to learn, and discipline. So you mentioned discipline already, but willingness to learn. And again, this is something we've talked about on previous podcasts and previous lives, that you should never, ever, ever stop learning. This is something that I see all too much, with other people who've got businesses, and seemingly successful businesses, because but businesses where they could be so much more successful if they could actually take their ego out of it, and have someone to aspire to. So have someone to learn from, have a mentor, be prepared to accept that even though they are successful, there's still so many things that they don't know. But I think ego gets in the way. I was in that place. I probably spent the vast part of my 20s thinking that I knew everything, or even if I didn't think I knew it, I certainly wasn't as open to learning as I am now. And ultimately, the only person that lost out on that was me. What's anybody saying on here? Would you say there's a good age to start a business? Do you think the younger the person is, the less serious their business will be taken, even if they have made the effort? A couple of comments to that. I don't want to get too sidetracked from this, but I want to answer your questions. For me, I don't think there is. I don't think there's a good age. It's not like the right age is 26 years old. I think the age to start is when you're ready, and I would say the age to start is as soon as possible, because like anything, until you start, you can't make mistakes, you can't learn. Everything takes time. So so the sooner you start, the sooner you're going to succeed. A lot of the time, obviously a lot of you guys have said that you want to start businesses, but you don't know what business you're going to start, or you don't know what you like, or you think that you've got 2 or 3 ideas that you like and you don't know which one to pick. Well, I guess therefore the sooner you start the business, at least you can start with some of these ideas and find out what you do like and what you don't like, and what you're good at and what you're not good at, which I guess it's almost like if you think about the school system, when you're 12 or 13, you're probably doing 10 subjects. And then when you're 18, you consolidate that, or 16, you consolidate that to 5 subjects. And then you go to uni and you do 1 subject, because you're finding what you like, you're finding what you're better at, and you're finding what it is that you want to spend the rest of your life doing. And I think the same kind of principles apply in business. For me, it's never too soon to start. It's never too soon to start. It's also never too late to start. I've had messages in the past from 60-year-old ladies saying, I just really wish I'd started a business. I've had this idea, but now I'm too old. You're never too old and you're never too young. And I think Natasha also said that people won't take you seriously. Listen, I think in today's world, so much stuff actually happens online and not face to face that you can probably get away a lot more without people, without age being a barrier. I also think a lot of the time that's in people's minds. I do get it. Yes, people. I mean, I was young. I mean, I was 21, 22, 23, doing my businesses and going out there to lenders to borrow money from the bank and to deal with landlords, and I'd be in competition with people who were twice my age and much more experienced. But I guess ultimately it was down to me to sell my story and sell my case. But I think also other things that are different in today's world than the world of yesteryear is a lot easier to sell direct to the consumer now without going through a distributor, and the consumer probably never needs to know who you are or how old you are. So many businesses now are online businesses. I mean, again, you don't necessarily see who the person is behind it, so age doesn't have to get in the way. But then again, that kind of contradicts what I talk about when I talk about building a personal brand. So I think, at the end of the day, you might be young, but if you've got a reason that people want to buy into you, then you can be successful at any age. And youth has its value in exactly the same way that experience has its value, but just in different things. I don't. Okay, if we're talking stockbroking and finance, for example, maybe I'd rather be dealing with a 45, 50-year-old guy who's got shed loads of experience and I guess years of relationships and stuff under his belt. But if I was wanting to deal with someone to help me with my social media, then I don't want a 50-year-old guy, because he's going to be antiquated and he's going to be living in yesteryear, and he's not going to know all the technologies of stuff of today. So that that 18, 19, 20, 21-year-old is going to have an advantage above the 45-year-old, 50-year-old that they can't compete with. So I think things like age, etc., are probably really just excuses for people to not do something or get in the way. So don't let age be a problem. So who else has joined us? Charlie Diaz, hello. Who else have we got in here? Paige says you're 21 and you've got two of your own companies and they are growing, but along the way I've made some major mistakes. Yep. And you'll make some more, Paige, and you'll make some more, just like I keep doing as well. And that's why it's so important. I say to everyone to have mentors, to have people that you can learn from and that resonate with you, so you can try and make less mistakes, but don't let the mistakes put you off. Lydia says, I guess it's also what your passion is and what you resonate with, more likely to succeed. Yeah, you're always going to do better at something if you like it, because you're going to put more effort in and spend more time, and successful businesses take time. They take time, they take patience, and you're only going to put that time in if you enjoy it. What's anyone else saying? Age is a number. I became a personal trainer in my 40s. Fantastic. Great example. I mean that is exactly the stereotypical kind of business that people would think you can't start being a personal trainer in your 40s. I'm not saying that. I'm not saying it's right at all. But that's a fantastic example. So I'm glad you're on tonight. Do I ever tell my children about life? Oh, I only have one child, and yeah, I mean, there is nothing that Harley doesn't know, I guess, about me or my situations, or good and bad, and we've always had a very, very open relationship in that respect, and yeah, I mean, to be honest, business isn't her interest. I try and put strategies and techniques and stuff in place for her, try and help her with things, try and make them as fun as possible. I mean, she loves a horse riding. She thinks she wants to be a vet. She's 13 or 14, so who knows what she'll be. But as I say to her, even if you want to be a vet, even if you want to be, working in the world of equestrian and stuff, some of the core strategies I talk about, networking, growing a brand, having an audience, these things are important to anyone, whatever their business is. And like I said, if Harley wants to be a vet, then she needs to get her customers from somewhere, and the better known she is, then the more likely she is to get the customers, the more likely she is to be able to charge more money, etc., etc. So I do try and involve her where I can and as much as possible, but it's just not really her thing at the moment. Right, I'm going to do one more question, and I'm just conscious of the time because these go off after an hour, and we've got about 10 minutes to go. I just want to finish talking about what I talked about today. Scott says, what are the best ways to drive engagement on social media? So I say Scott, sorry, I'm S. Gilbert Tennis. I don't know what your name is, but I've called you Scott for some reason. Best ways to drive engagement are, well, one of the things we were talking about last night is to ask for it. So if you want comments, if you want likes, if you want shares, then ask for it. Because I'm sorry, Steve. Hi, Steve. Because if you don't ask, you don't get. It's not to say people won't engage with you anyway, but if you want a reaction, then ask for it. I mean, obviously, you need to get the other fundamentals in place. Insofar as you need to have nice imagery. People are always obviously going to be more attracted to a nice image than a not nice image. So I'm not talking here about unnecessary amounts of filtering to make yourself look like somebody that you're actually not, but make sure your image dimensions are correct. Make sure it's a nice bright image. Copy the caption underneath, super important. People think of Instagram as purely an image-based platform, and yes, the quality of the image is paramount, but people do actually read the comment, do actually read the stuff underneath. And you guys will see me write 3, 4, 5, 6 paragraphs. I don't do that because I fancy wasting 5 minutes of my life. I do it because it gets the engagement, it gets my message across to you guys, it gets you doing what I want you to do, it gets you learning more about me, etc., etc. So good imagery, good comments underneath, hashtags. Ask for a call to action, whatever that call to action may be. Go there, do this, like this, share the other. That's a 30 second class masterclass for you. But if you want to know a lot more about it, the Instagram expert is not me. It's a guy called Chris Taylor. He's a guy that is a friend of mine. We did a live together a few nights ago, and me and him have also shot some content together on my YouTube channel. So jump over to my YouTube channel, which is just Matt Haycox, MattHaycox. It's Matt Haycox over on YouTube, and you'll see a couple of very long form, hour and a half long interviews, masterclasses between me and Chris, where he'll give you some fantastic strategies for growing your engagement and growing your social media followings. Right, guys, no more questions tonight. I promise you can have whatever you want tomorrow. I just want to have 5 minutes on today's question. So the 3 things that I said were crucial to my success, and I think that anyone can apply to their success, and that these are things that will make you super successful during the good economy, and will still be able to make you keep your head above water during shit economy. First of all, you've got to have a skill, and there's no specific answer of what that skill is, but you have to have a skill that people are willing to pay for. Now, in the interview I did, the example I was talking about is, my skill set is being able to put deals together. My skill set is being able to raise finance for people. That is a skill that people will pay for. And again, there's going to be high paid skills and lower paid skills, but so many of you have already got a skill, and if you haven't got a skill, now's the time to go and learn it. A skill that you can monetize, whether you are a gardener, a hairdresser, a beautician, an expert at social media. Vivian, who was on here, may still be on here, is a photographer. Are you a chef? Whatever your skill is, make sure you've got a skill. And the more skills you've got, obviously the more valuable you are, but people always want those skills in times of plenty and in times of few. So number one, make sure you've got a skill. Make sure you can add value to someone. If you effectively work for someone else at the moment and don't have anything unique to bring to the table, I'm not trying to sound derogatory when I'm saying this to you, but you don't have a skill that other people are going to want if you are out of a job. If you work in an office and you don't bring anything special to the party, then should you lose your job, you are going to be someone who is a lot more vulnerable than somebody else. So okay, Viv's name's popped up on there again. So Viv's still here. So Viv has a skill as a photographer. So during the good times, she can be working 5 or 6 days a week. During the crap times now, obviously, she's struggling to get work doing events because there are no events, there are no weddings, but she still has a skill that she's able to monetize in different ways. And she may not be able to get as much money as she wants, or she may not be able to get as much money as she would from an event right now. I'm sure that will grow as she spends more time on the different directions she's going down. But she has a skill, and again, that's the same whether you're a hairdresser, a gardener, a beautician, can you speak fluent French? So you could be a French teacher or a translator. So number one, you've got to have a skill. Number two, you've got to be able to communicate. So these were the three things I said. I said skill, communicate. Now by communicate, I'm talking about getting your message across to your audience. I'm talking about the ability to sell. I'm talking about the ability to communicate on social media, the ability to network. Networking is something I've always said has been fundamental to my success. I've got an amazing Rolodex of people, from people with skills to people with money to people with influence to people with celebrity. I've always been very good at communicating and building relationships with those people. And if you're shy, then maybe you can start online. But again, like a lot of the things we talk about, the only way to get better at something is to practice it and to do it. And there is there's no shortcut, there's no easy way. You've got to have that first conversation, then have that second conversation, then have that third conversation. And ultimately, you may never like it, but you'll certainly get easier at it. So have a skill, be able to communicate, and third, I said, I believe I've been successful because I have a positive outlook on life, and I always look at the good rather than the bad. And this is something we always talk, you guys and I talk about every night during lockdown. That we can be sat at home moaning about how bad everything is because our businesses are closed down and the world's come to an end, or we can be sat here thinking of strategies to make our businesses work during lockdown, during quarantine. We can be sat here thinking of strategies to make ourselves successful when we come out of this. I was on the phone to a friend of mine today, and I won't say who or what about, but we were talking. They were telling me about some of the things with their business. And I was saying, why don't you try this idea? Why don't you try that idea? Why don't you try the other idea? And they kept saying they just had a no and a negative answer to everything that I talk about. And it was, no, we can't do this. No, we can't do that. Now, listen, I get it. I don't know his business like he knows it. And maybe he's right to say that some of the things I said weren't possible. But I don't really think he gave it the chance. It was just, he'd rather say no than think outside the box and say yes. So have a skill, be able to communicate, and have a positive attitude. And I think if you have those three things, Paige, I came on 4 minutes late. Don't worry, I've still got 4 minutes. If you've got those three things, you will be able to thrive during any circumstance. So if the world's going great, you're going to be smashing it, and if the world's not so good like it is now, you will still be able to survive, to make money, to add value, and to make sales. So that is today's thing. So all that is left is to announce today's competition winner. And like I say, for anyone who's only jumped on at the end of this, tomorrow night I have got coming on the live with me a guy called Stefan Pierre, who is the most swiped right guy on Tinder. Look, I can't even keep a straight face when I'm saying it. So he is the most swiped right guy on Tinder, and he's going to be talking to us about marketing, about influencer marketing, about how to connect with influencers, and about how to make your imagery online be right, how to write the right captions, the right profiles, because whilst we may not immediately associate Tinder with business, what Tinder is effectively a sales platform. And you are selling yourself, so you've got to put your best foot forward, you've got to use your best imagery, your best captions, and you've got to sell yourself. So we're going to have a chat with him, find out what he used on Tinder and how we can move that over to business. I'm smiling because a lot of you guys are saying I'll definitely be joining. Viv says, count me in tomorrow. I'm going to block you, Viv. I'm going to block you from being able to see my lives. I'm not having you look at this guy. But I'm going to post a picture. I'm going to post a picture of him when this is finished. So listen, guys. Tonight's winner is a newbie. It's a newbie. So Paige, I already feel, when I saw her name pop up, I already felt bad for you because I know you are gagging to win, and I'm sure your time will come before the week is out. Peter says we should interview the most swiped left guy to get to. I don't think he's going to want to admit to being that guy, Peter. So tonight's winner is Bethany Rose. I actually saw Bethany's name come up because when I saw her come in, I remember thinking, oh, that's the person who won. So Bethany Rose _X. She is a newbie, and well done. So Beth, the rules of the game are: DM me your PayPal details and I will whiz some pennies over to you. £100 is coming your way when you send me your details. Guys, thank you very much for joining. It's honestly, I really love how many people are coming back time again. I love the fact that the audience is growing, and I'm glad you guys are benefiting. Paige, you want your book? I know you've sent me your email. I will send you it before bed tonight, I promise. Listen, guys, make sure you come back tomorrow. Make sure you enter tomorrow's competition. Any questions you want me to include, any content you want me to include, DM me, join the thing, bring your friends, tag some people in my posts, and I'll see you all tomorrow. Thank you very much, and happy Easter.